What's up, YouTube? Coming back at you again. Wanted to parlay a couple things with you. Before we get started, guys, if you do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Please comment on the video. Anything helps the channel grow. Really appreciate it. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today is traditional versus modern living, right? And this is more of observation and questioning and commentary than advice on anything. So obviously, in this particular world we live in, tradition is not fully understood, right? So traditional would be, and when I say traditional, I'm talking about traditional living spaces, whether a man and woman are together, and one's taking care of the house, the other one's taking care of the finances, and you're bringing home the bacon. Obviously, things are a little bit different nowadays, so the norms have blurred a little bit, and obviously it costs a lot to raise a family in today's age, right? So it may take two incomes to provide for a certain lifestyle. Now, for me, I think that if you're making decent money and you're not overdoing it, I think a single income can do it. Now, with that said, I think that if there are two incomes, one should be made towards retiring, and the other one should be raising a family. But it's also hard to do because people are selfish nowadays, right? So that's another thing to consider. Don't understand what marriage and having children is all about anymore, because most people are having children outside of a marriage. And sometimes even though people have things tied together, they're not officially tied together, right? But that's neither here nor there. I mean, the question I would have is, if a lot of women say that they want a traditional man, right? And I don't think they understand what that means to be a traditional man. Meaning, they're looking for someone to play daddy, and not so much someone that they can listen to, right? So they're looking for someone that can accept all of their flaws. So it means that they don't have to change, but they want this person to pretty much treat them like a princess without them having to do anything, right? A lot of women say, "Oh, I want a traditional man. They need to be the breadwinner, provide and protect." But what value are you bringing to that relationship? Because obviously we understand what the value he's bringing. And someone will say, "Well, I'm raising the children," but being a traditional housewife mean more than just raising the children. And yeah, raising children is a huge part of it. But also that man is taking part in that, right? So his lessons that he's teaching the young ones, his protection that he's giving them, the rearing and the discipline. Because sometimes you do need a father's voice for discipline, right? Because you look at a lot of situations, it would tell you that raising a child by yourself, especially as a single mother, does not always give out the best outcomes when it comes to rearing children. And I mean, there's statistics about that, and a lot of people who are incarcerated, unfortunately, do come from single family homes. A lot of the high school dropouts come from single family homes, single parent homes. A lot of abuse, substance abuse comes from single family homes. There's a lot of things that come along with that. So I mean, it would indicate that the rearing of children takes two people, right? So with that said, if you are rearing children together with two people and you're taking on this traditional role, what roles are you fulfilling? I mean, because I think it's pretty clear. They're set and defined for both roles. It's just that women tend to blur the lines when it comes to them because they don't realize how much work it takes to have a traditional family, right? Because a man understands that. So when a man takes on the responsibility of being a traditional man, means he doesn't always get to do what he wants to do with his money, right? So that means his money is for essentially everything the household needs first, right? And even if he does have some, additional funds left over, he has to be very cautious with those funds, because what happens if, let's say I have a surplus this month, it would behoove me to put that money to the side in case there are emergencies. So he's living in a position where all his labor, right, all his time that he puts in is, he doesn't get to reap the reward for that, as far as doing what he wants to do. So he doesn't get to buy the car he may want. He doesn't get to buy the clothes he may want. He doesn't get to buy the toys or luxury items that he wants, because he has to make sure that the household is taken care of, and planning for emergencies, and planning for college, and planning for all eventualities. And if you're a single income, meaning that the mother's not earning at all, that means you have to plan for retirement for both parties, right? So even though you're earning single income, you have to make sure you provide provision for two people, right? So that's one thing. So it's clear and set and defined what we are, and I mean it should be clear and set and defined what it is for a woman as well, because when you look at, so if I'm handling all the heavy lifting as far as outside the home, then that means you should be handling all the heavy lifting inside the home. Now, that does not give us, free permission to be a slob, and this is not a slave situation. And I think that a lot of women hear that, this is a slave situation, I'm not going to be doing all this for a man, and he ain't doing nothing for me. Doing nothing around the house, not nothing for me. But at the same time, you got to understand, this man gets to do nothing with it. He doesn't get to do what he wants to do, period, right? So your role should be making sure that he is well taken care of. That means you should be providing the fuel for this man to be able to work and provide for you. So what does that mean? That means making sure that he eats, has well-cooked meals, making sure the house is clean, making sure that, he has peace when he comes home. Most women say they want to be provided for, but they don't want to do anything to get that part. Because a lot of women be like, oh, well, some days I'm tired, some weeks, I don't feel like doing this, that, or third. How many men out here that are working hard jobs feel like doing what they're doing every day? We get up and do it. And, we can't slack on our consistency, right? I can't be like, this month I don't want to pay anything, right? I don't want to pay any bills. I need somebody else to pay that bills for this month, because if we did that, you'd be looking at us crazy. So with that said, if we have to be consistent in what we're doing, then that means you need to be consistent as well, right? Nobody's out here doing what they want to do every day. That's just not how this thing goes, right? So if I got to do things every day that I don't want to do, because there's days that I don't get up and I don't want to go to work, or I don't want to cut the grass, or I don't want to fix this thing in the house, I don't want to put my money towards things that don't directly benefit me. Let's say, for example, I'm into video games. I don't get to buy that game this week because, hey, that $60 would go to something in the house, or that $60 can go in your gas tank because you're not working. So instead of me spending $60 on a game I have to put that $60 in your gas tank so that you can be able to do what you need to do. So I have to sacrifice what I want for the greater good of our family, which in turn means you have to sacrifice what you want in order for the greater good of your family. And your surplus is time. When you have time, you can say, hey, I can relax with this time because nothing's going on right now, or I could take on a project, something that needs to be done around the house. And that's the same thing when I have a surplus of money. I can either A, spend this money on myself, buy something that I want for myself, or B, I can invest this back into the family. So that is what it's all about. That is what it means to be, traditional versus modern. Now, I have a lot of partners. I used to have a lot of partners when we was growing up. They'd be like, they wanted that traditional man-woman relationship, but they weren't bringing the full value what it means to be a traditional man as well, right? They would want to do 50-50, but still want to have her only do the cooking, or have her only do the cooking and cleaning. And to me, that's selfish. And that's not tradition either, because that's a modern relationship. So if you're living a modern relationship, then everybody contributes equally, right? Sometimes if you're doing 50-50 in your house and you're splitting bills and You need the financial aid from your partner, which is, it's modern lines. Nothing wrong with that. If that's what you're living, you just can't be the boss. You guys are in it together. You know, she should, still should defer to you for, things that may affect the household. You should be able to think with a more clear and logical mind um, when it comes to decisions and finances, things like that. How to manage the money that's coming in. Uh, However, you don't get to come home and kick your feet up because she's working like you're working. Even if you're working harder than her, her income, she just works smarter than you. You might have a job where you're making, let's say you're making the same amount of money, but your job is harder than hers. It's not her fault that she got a job that didn't require any physical stress and yours did. I mean, physical exertions and yours did. That doesn't mean, okay, well, my 40 hours are harder than your 40 hours, so I should get to come home and keep my feet up. No, we both work 40 hours. I did mine smarter than yours. But, um, so that means when you come home, regardless of how tired you are, you have to do something around the house. Because it's not her responsibility to take care of you if you're not fully taking care of her. In that particular situation, you're taking care of each other. Right? It means where she's strong, she takes advantage of that, and where you're strong, she takes advantage of that, and vice versa. Her strength should cover your weaknesses, and and your strength should cover her weaknesses. Right? And that's the same thing in a traditional marriage as well. But it's all too often, guys want to be the boss in the situation, but you're not paying the cost. I know it's a cliche phrase, but you have to pay the cost to be the boss. If you want to be the boss of a situation and you want someone to, fully take care of you and be able to make decisions and, be the leader of the household, then you have to make some sacrifices, and that may mean working longer hours, giving up more of your paycheck to make sure that things are taken care of, and also making a decision to be with a woman or a partner. This is because I'm speaking to the ladies in the menu. Be with a partner that is, aligned with how you want to live. I think that's the other thing. A lot of people get with, people, and they're not aligned on how they want to live their lives, right? They both have their own ideas of how this thing should go, and at the end of the day, they end up butting heads because they're both on opposite ends of the spectrum. So I would say that, if you're traditional, make sure she is traditional, that she's been raised traditional. A lot of times, women who are raised in two-parent households or raised with older people do have a more traditional mindset, right? A lot of people that come from single-parent homes may buck against being traditional because they haven't learned how to be a wife, and you probably haven't learned how to be a husband. You've never seen it in action, right? There's a lot of men out there today, unfortunately, that don't have fathers, who don't understand the lessons that fathers taught, and but they've been told that because they're a man, that means they should lead, and they haven't been taught how to be the leader. They don't know what it requires to be a leader. So you have to be careful in making these decisions. All too often, people try to force things that are so far away from what it actually should be. You're complaining about a man not doing things for you, and that man was never even taught how to be a man. And same thing. Woman, just because she has female, parts, doesn't mean that she's a woman, or doesn't mean she's a mother, doesn't mean she's a wife. Or I think in order to be a husband or a wife, you have to learn how to do those things. You have to learn from examples. You have to learn. You have to be mentored in how to do those things. And you may not be able to get everything from your mentors, but you should have enough of a baseline that you should be able to perform and adjust accordingly. One of the first things I always say, everybody's the star of their own show, the star of their own movie. And you're not marrying this woman and you're not marrying this man and expecting them to perform at your circus, right? They have their own goals, aspirations, and dreams that they want to achieve themselves. And their mission in life is not to make your life better. You guys' mission should be to make each other's life better. And if you bring children, then it's to make their life better, right? So just my thoughts, some commentary here. Tell me in the comments what you think. If this is a good topic you guys want me to discuss further, please leave a comment. Also, like and subscribe to the channel. Anything helps, and we'll continue to dive into these topics. Thanks, guys.